Hey guys, welcome back to video 3 in my Chakra UI crash course series where we're building a dev portfolio website. And I just want to say I'm so sorry for the delay. You guys would not believe my video was ready to go, both this video and the next. And I lost my SD card as I was traveling back to Perth. So it's all good. We're refilming today and I'm actually looking at it from a positive point of view because I feel like a few of the topics I was like, I'm not really sure about that, or I'm 90% sure that's the right way to do it. But today, don't get me wrong, we are 100% ready to go. So as promised in the first video, we're going to cover path aliases at the start as our quick little tip, and then we're going to cover theming and styling. So enough talking, let's get started. So on the path aliases front, there are 3 steps to set up those path aliases. And I just want to remind you why we're doing this. It's a real future-proof state set. So basically what we want to do is make our imports look a lot cleaner, right? And so you can see here that the relative imports, like they're not doing it for me. And especially when we're going to be nestling page inside of page, like it's just not going to work. So first what we need to do is go to tsconfig.ts and the 2 steps. So you basically need to set your base URL as your source code, and then you need to update your path. So obviously at the moment I'm only importing from the sections in the UI folder, and instead of like giving the components folder, which the sections and UI folder is in, I've just gone direct to there and then I'm mapping the components from there. So that makes my imports look really clean and all happening. So this page tells TypeScript, whenever you see a non-relative import, like it doesn't start with this denotation, resolve it from this path. And as a result, we can clean up the import, right? So basically what we need to do now is look for the same in vite.config. So we're going to go vite.config, and basically what you need to do is add this code in. So what the resolver does is basically the same thing that we just did, but from a like Vite build perspective. So I'll just talk through this function here. So process.cwd stands for, it basically gets the current working directory, and then path.resolve joins this with the rest of the path and creates an absolute path. So basically when you go at sections, it's giving you what you're looking for in sections, but it's just making that an absolute path by not typing out the whole thing. So I will paste this code in the description of this video if you do want to have a look. And then basically you're good to go from a updating your paths perspective. So I'll give you an example using hero. So we know that hero is in sections. You can see I'm getting that there. And then I'm going to go hero, and then I'm going to go Control S. Okay, so that's your quick 5 minutes on how to, or rather 3 minutes 30, let's go, on how to get aliases set up. So the next thing we're going to talk through is getting custom theming, or not custom theming, but we're going to talk through theming and styling. So the way I see it is Chakra has theming and styling, right? But it's actually the same thing. So theming is like our app-wide design system, and you can create a config file and get really like handy dandy in there if you've got a brand and they've got fonts, they've got colors, like you can just preload all of that in there, fantastic. But what I would suggest for those of like, for example, for my dev portfolio website, like the colors, they mean a lot to me, but do they mean that much to me? I'm just going to take everything out of the box. So first I'm going to talk you through the out of the box styling, and we probably should just hit Control S on that app.json file. Okay, so let's go to our website. So our website's looking fantastic at the moment. Don't you worry, next video we're going to be really getting in there. So we're going to go navbar, and we're going to create a button, right? And this is just showing you the out of the box theming. And I'm going to give you, I'm going to say teal button. And it's kind of like HTML syntax here. So we're going to go, let's import the button. So we're getting prompting on our color palette. Color palette, here we go. And teal. And just note here that you need to turn this into a string. So if you leave it in the curly braces, you will get an error. Alrighty. So there's our teal button. As I said, we've got default hover state. The button is ready to go. Woohoo. So I'm going to show you when you go to components and you go to button. All right, and you'll see by default that we get a solid button. So here's our teal, fantastic. We can learn how to add icons and I'll leave that to you, but here's our color palette for everything we get out of the box. And you can like test out the different default hover states. So we can see that we're getting the button variant solid by default. And if I just look at the code, I can show you here. Basically, the variants just provide different types of buttons. So let's just, for testing purposes, give you another button. So we're going to go the same button using the color palette teal, and we're going to go variant, remembering solid is by default. Let's go outline, Control S, going back to Chrome, back to our website. Here we go. All right, and what this is telling me is actually Surface doesn't really have a background color, so we obviously need to have a look at what's going on with our CSS there, but let's leave it there for now. Alrighty, so that kind of covers the out-of-the-box coloring and theming, and you can get a good look at all the different colors. Okay, so if you go theming, design tokens, colors, you'll be able to see all of the different colors, and these are embedded in the color palettes, but for example, say I wanted to target teal.600, I don't have to give the hashtag syntax. Well, I can't remember what that syntax is called, but you know what I mean, the color syntax, I can just go teal.600. So Chakra has all of these color tokens out of the box, which is worth mentioning. Alrighty, so next let's talk through defining our app-wide theme. So basically you're going to go to themes in the Chakra UI docs and you're going to paste everything here. Just copy and paste. It's that easy. It's not that easy. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, we're going to app.typescript and I'm just going to go under the imports that I currently have. And you'll just see here that we've got 2 lines that we're importing from Chakra UI. So I'm just fixing that up to start and we'll just delete that redundant line now. And basically what you can see here is we've got our define config function where we can add in our different colors, and then we're creating a constant system and passing in the config colors. And then basically what this is showing us is we need to wrap our app in Chakra provider. So I did have a comment in, I think it was the previous video, where someone was asking me, thank you so much for the comment, about the difference between provider and Chakra provider. So basically provider is more like a third-party provider. And I think this might, I don't know how this got into our code. It's not usually created when I know where it is actually. Let me show you. Sorry, when we go Chakra start building and use Vite, it's in here, I remember. Okay, so this is what's causing the confusion, right? So provider is basically like, say you were using AWS Amplify to use user state management, you would use provider, but Chakra provider is the theming. So what we're going to do is that we're actually going to remove provider because the purpose of our website, we don't need provider. So what we're going to do is wrap our app in, why did I just delete that? We're going to wrap our app in Chakra provider like this. And remembering on that entry line, we need to pass in system as the value. And basically what this is saying is whatever I've defined in my system, as in here, which is being defined by the colors in my define config function, is what you need to use for my app. And I've just removed that redundant provider line. So what we're going to do now is just define some brand colors. So I'm assuming if you've got a brand, they've got brand colors, right? And I was doing a bit of research. I'm not a color specialist by any means, but I was doing a bit of research, and basically they say to use a denotation from 50 to 900, and then you'll have your primary color usually as 500. So probably need to do some more research on colors and all of that. But like I said, I'm just going to use out of the box styling, so no need to worry, but this is how you do it. So basically I just got this off ChatGPT. If you've got, a primary color, for example, this one, just ask for 50 to 900 values, and that will provide it for you. And basically what we want to do is test it, right? So I'm clicking Control S. We're going to go to Navbar. We're going to create a new button. Let's just go new button. And now I'm going to go brand button just to show you the difference. And what we're going to do is pass in that color. So I'm going to go background equals string, and I'm going to go brand.500, which is our primary color. Control S. And going back to our website, here we go, our brand button. And like I said, we don't have a hover state set up yet. The text is obviously black, so all of those different intricacies come with, and like obviously a few more lines of code if you aren't taking Chakra's out of the box design system. So yeah, that's basically how to define a custom theme in Chakra or using Chakra. So I hope that makes sense. The next thing we're going to do is, for example, do some text styling. So I'm going to change, for a component, I'm going to change the text font family. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into styling, text styles, and we need to have a look at the setup here. So basically it's just telling us that text styles are defined using the define text style function. So it's very similar. We then pass that into our app-wide theme. And what I'm going to show you here is to use the text styles, update the theme object with the text styles property. Okay, great. So what we're going to do again, just copy and paste this into your code. And remember that we need to paste it, I've just pasted it above the define config that was existing. And you'll see here that this system, create system, we've already got, right? So we don't need that. And we just want to pass text styles into our theme. So you can't have it above. Let's pass it in above. You'll need a comma. Okay. And then we've already got create system and define config. Great. And then here, interesting, right? So it's saying, import text styles from text styles. So this is showing you that usually if you are, a color fanatic, UI designer, great front-end developer, you've got a text styles config file, yada, yada. That's just not us. So basically what we're going to do is import text styles from Chakra directly. And if you just go further up in the documentation, here you go. Define text styles from Chakra. Great. So we're going to import that. I'm going to remove this. I was like, what's happening? We need the function, obviously. Okay, so we're going back to our code, and so we've imported define text styles, and let's just, like, for simplicity, just focus on inter. So we don't need the description. That's lovely. We're just going, it's the same as what we were seeing before, right? So we're importing define text styles from Chakra. We're exporting it, or you don't need to export it because we're not exporting it anywhere. We're defining this constant, define text styles, and then basically the create system is looking for this inside define config function, and then we're wrapping our app with Chakra provider and passing in the value system. Okay, so let's show you here. So we're going to go button, no, we're going to go, let's just like provide a box. Wow, fat fingers. Box, right? And then we're going to create the text style. So just going back to the documentation, text style body, and pass that in, and then just go diff text font or font family. And we need to import box because we do not have box on our navbar. And let's have a look at the result. Okay, so you can see there that we've successfully created a different font family, and we've both tested out the out-of-the-box styling. We've looked at creating an app-wide theme, and we've tested out different variants of the button as an example. But I hope in this video that helps you work out how you can define your themes and a bit of an overview into theming and styling. And of course, we covered the path aliases. Actually, I want to remind you of one thing. So basically, I was reading the documentation, right? And I got a few errors, and interestingly enough, so when you like customize your theme, right? So this is in our app.typescript. When you customize your themes, it's like a low-level token API change, which means that you actually need to rejig or refresh your typings. And I found this in the documentation in Chakra. Let me show you. Yeah, here. So basically it goes, after updating the theme, run this command to generate the typings. Interesting because like, obviously we just changed the text styles and it worked. And I don't know if that's because I've done this before and I just reverted the changes, obviously when I lost my SD card. But I then found a little bit of a hack. So instead of running this in your terminal to generate the typings, what you can do is you go to your package.json file, and let me just close the terminal off. And basically in scripts, what we can do is actually add that script in. So you go type gen, and this is to generate typings, right? Semicolon. And it's that exact function that that exact command that we just saw. And so then anytime, and I'm just gonna go put that like that, and you need a comma. So basically anytime you need a comma on the above one rather. Anytime you hit npm run dev or npm install or npm run dev, it's just refreshing the typings. And so I think this is like a best practice reading the documentation instead of, you know, if another developer is using your code, then they have to run this in the terminal and they're like, oh, you're obviously a junior. That's just from my understanding. So yeah, that's our video for today, guys. I'm excited. In the next video, we're going to finally get to building our navbar and footer, or our header and footer, and let's get into finally getting our website together. So I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video very soon now that I have an SD card. See you.